Hey, happy Thursday morning to you, everyone, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. I appreciate you being with me so very, very much as we continue our study of the resurrection in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. I have been emphasizing the point that Paul said the resurrection, the transformation from corruptibility to incorruptibility, etc., would be when the old covenant law of Moses and the prophets was fulfilled. Now, this really presents a humongous problem for futurists. About 11 out of 10 futurists, amillennialists, postmillennialists, even dispensationalists, believe the law of Moses was nailed to the cross. Now, some believe that it extended until AD 70, but by and large, amillennialists and postmillennialists say that the law of Moses was nailed to the cross. Dr. David Hester, that I debated in June of 2017, said the law of Moses was nailed to the cross. God was through with Israel at the cross. Well, let me ask you this question. If God was through with Old Covenant Israel at the cross, as Dr. David Hester affirmed, and as Steve Gregg and John Welch and Mac Deaver and hosts of other men that I have debated. If God was through with Israel at the cross, if God was through with Moses and the law at the cross, why in the name of reason, how in the name of reason, could Paul still be looking for the fulfillment of Moses, the law, and the prophets? Just recently I have been in a Facebook correspondence with a former preterist. And on the one hand, he says the law was canceled. Israel was canceled. Then he turns right around and says the promises of the law remain valid. How in the name of reason does that work? That's nothing but replacement theology. It says that Israel failed. It says that God's purpose for Israel failed. That's an absolutely horrible doctrine. I'm trying to be kind here, but to say that God canceled the law and yet kept the promises is in absolute, direct, 180-degree opposition to what Jesus said. Do not think that I came to destroy the law and the prophet. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, not one jot, not one tittle shall pass from the law until it is all fulfilled. Okay, so the law, Moses, the law and the prophets, the law contained the prophecies of the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15. Jesus said, not one jot, not one tittle shall pass from the law until it's all fulfilled. And yet, the majority of futurists, some former preterists tell us, oh yeah, God nailed the law to the cross. God was through with Israel at the cross. God canceled the law at the cross. Oh, but wait, we're still waiting for the fulfillment of the law. If the law is not fulfilled, the law, every jot, every tittle, remains valid and binding today. There is no escape from this. And it becomes absolutely shocking, amazing, and sad to see the verbal gymnastics of men who are otherwise good men when they say, oh, no, my eschatological hope is not based on Moses. Absolutely not based on Moses. And then they go to texts like 1 Corinthians 15, where Paul says that his hope was taken directly from the law, and they completely ignore it. They gloss right over it as if it had no meaning and no significance. But the bottom line is, if you say that your eschatological hope was not the hope of Israel, was not the hope found in Moses, the law, and the prophets, as I stated in the last video, then you have an eschatological hope that is different from Paul. It is different from Peter. It is different from John. It is different from the entirety of all of the New Testament writers, and it is therefore a false and a wrong hope. Let me reiterate. Jesus said not one jot, not one tittle would pass from the law until it was all fulfilled. Jesus knew absolutely nothing of the law being canceled, and yet its promises being continued. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that's nonsense. There is not one single textual word of inspiration to justify that position. It is a fabricated theology to justify a futurist view and to deny the truthfulness that the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15 would be when God's promises to Old Covenant Israel were fulfilled at the end of the Old Covenant age. Never posited at the end of the Christian age, never posited at the end of time. The Bible knows nothing of those doctrines. Listen, let me suggest to you, get my book, The Resurrection of Daniel chapter 12, verse 2, Future or Fulfilled. This is one of the most extensive discussions of the resurrection of Daniel chapter 12 that you will find. You will see the direct correlation with 1 Corinthians 15 and how Paul sets forth that the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15 would be the fulfillment of Daniel chapter 12, and that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt, without any controversy. People argue with it, but it doesn't mean they're right. It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt the resurrection was fulfilled in AD 70. Well, thank you so very, very much for joining me on this morning's Morning Musings. I appreciate it so very much. Lord willing, we'll see you on Monday. You have a fantastic and a safe weekend.